Hey everybody. For part one, the experience that was the most meaningful to me, my first year of teaching, I had a mentor teacher that taught next door to me, and he helped me plan. He helped me set up my room at the beginning of the year, and he always helped me and answered my questions. I remember we were teaching a fourth grade light lesson, and I had no idea really what I was going to do to teach it to make it authentic to my students. He came by and he told me to just get my class and follow him. And we went down to the science lab, and he taught the lesson to my class and to his class. I was able to kind of see how he taught it. He modeled it for me, and I got to see how effective it was for the students when we assessed. He did this multiple times my first year, and it kind of helped me get a better idea of how to teach. Um, some of the common qualities in the experience. My mentor teacher, even though he wasn't an instructional coach, he kind of took on the role of a coach, and he helped me to build my confidence. And like I said, he modeled a lot of the lessons for me, and I was also able to ask him questions about the lessons. And then, as I moved on through my teaching career, I was able to tweak those lessons and kind of take ownership of them. The next question: in what ways did these align with the characteristics and components and the standards of professional learning? These experiences definitely fell into the learning community standard because we met regularly and I was able to strengthen my practice. I think my mentor also strengthened his practice because he was looking in depth at what he was doing, and I was constantly asking him questions throughout. This also covered the standard of leadership. These experiences that I learned from him made me a better teacher, and then that success from being a good teacher is one of the reasons that I got hired to be an assistant principal for this year. And I still see my mentor teacher a good bit. We're still good friends, and I still thank him for helping me become the teacher that I am. The next question: in what ways did your meaningful experiences involve coaching as described in Chapter 2? When I look back at these experiences from my first year, my mentor he gave me a variety of the different coaching strategies in there. A lot of the strategies they gave me that first year were directive coaching. He was definitely the expert, and he was kind of attempting to relay those skills to me. But at the same time, he also used a lot of facilitative coaching. I didn't really realize it at the time, but the more I've read, I've kind of come to understand why he did what he did. In the book, it says directive coaching isn't really as likely to stick, and it's not really likely to have a long term impact. It's good for the short term, but my mentor used the facilitative coaching to help me build upon my own ideas. The more I taught, the more I kind of got confident, and I was able to create my own lessons and my own strategies based on what he was telling me. And he would continue to meet with me, but instead of telling me what to do, he began to listen to what I had to say and what I thought I was going to do, and he would just kind of fine tune those. Um, Identify one experience and tell the story of the experience while analyzing how it connects with ideas in the readings. Another experience I had that first year that connects with the readings has to do with facilitative coaching. We were teaching a weather unit, and I wanted to have the kids observe different aspects of weather. So I came up with a chart. It had temperature, precipitation, cloud types, wind speed, wind direction, barometric pressure. And I showed it to him, and my mentor teacher, and he said that was definitely a great way to help the kids review weather and take ownership of it. But what he told me, he said, you might want to check the standards because he didn't think barometric pressure was one of the standards, and he told me that just because it wasn't a standard, it's not a bad thing to teach it, but that it might be kind of confusing to the kids since we hadn't learned about it, and that sometimes it's better to focus on what is in the standards to help make sure the kids get a better understanding of it and don't confuse different ideas. Um, that helped me to realize the importance of kind of thinking about the end goal before starting a unit or a lesson, and that's something that's really stuck with me. For part two, read and reflect upon the ideas in chapter two. The first question said, how does your own understanding of who you are as an individual impact your role as an instructional coach? Based on the reading, it sounds like it's vital for a coach to have a vision. The vision needs to be, at least in the book, it said the vision needs to be relayed to the entire school when the coach begins working there. There really isn't a set definition of what an instructional coach does, and from my experience, it seems to vary from school to school. This makes the coach's understanding of themselves a lot more important. If the coach doesn't convey to the staff what they're there to do, it's unlikely the coach can have success there or have any impact. The book mentions that interviewing the staff early on to determine the areas that need growth or improvement is a good idea. And I definitely think that personal interviews can help find out what individual teachers are going to need to feel supported. And I think all this has to be done from the start, before a coach can even start considering going into classrooms. They need to get an idea of what the school needs, but also what the individual teachers need. The next question says, using concepts from this chapter as well as your own experiences, reflect on how your identity influences your role as an instructional coach. Our identity definitely does influence our role as a coach. We have to be able to work with others in a way that makes them feel comfortable and trusting to our knowledge and to our feedback. And the three areas that said to consider were emotional intelligence, cultural competence, and transformational leadership. Truthfully, emotional intelligence is probably going to be the area that's most difficult for me. The book even mentioned that men are often less comfortable in dealing with emotions, both their own and others. That's not to say that's impossible, but opening up emotionally will be an area that I will need to work on. But it is important to be able to help our clients with handling their emotions appropriately. And the book also mentioned that as leaders, we have to be able to accept and welcome feedback about our own emotions as leaders. Cultural competence. This is an area that I feel like I will be very effective in. I consider myself to not be judgmental and to be able to work with people across different genders, ethnicities, sexual orientations, and different cultural or religious backgrounds. I've worked in a school where there was hardly any poverty, and when I moved schools the first time, I moved to a school with very, very high poverty. It's important for an effective coach to be able to put their differences aside, and if differences do arise, they have to be you have to be able to work through those so that you can help the teachers and the students be successful regardless of your own personal beliefs. Transformational leadership. This is an area that I also feel like I'll have success with. According to the book, coaches have to be willing to change just like we expect the clients to change. It has to be done together. It has to be done collaboratively. I think this will be possible because in education, things are constantly changing. We get new standards, we get new initiatives, new resources, new strategies yearly. Sometimes we get multiple initiatives and resources in a year. Being able to shift ideas and thoughts is, it's the only way to keep up with it and do what's best for the kids. But we have to be willing to make changes just like that we expect our teachers to do.